Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a topic that's fascinated humans forever, but we're looking at it through a brand new lens. The surprising role of artificial intelligence in understanding human luck. Now, if you're like us, you want to get smart on things quickly and thoroughly, and that's exactly what we're about here.
Right.
Forget the simple idea of some people just being born lucky. We're going way beyond that.
Absolutely. We've plunged into a really diverse set of sources, from ancient philosophy all the way to the cutting edge of AI research.
Yes.
We're talking historical accounts, how different cultures see luck, what psychology tells us, how it shapes society, even some tricky ethical questions.
Yeah.
And finally, how AI is kind of helping us make sense of it all.
Okay.
Our goal really is to unpack the many layers of luck, see why it matters so much, and explore this unexpected connection with AI without getting totally lost in the weeds.
Right. You might initially think that people we call lucky humans have just been, well, a positive force throughout history.
Yeah, seems logical.
But what we found is that it's actually a much more nuanced picture, with some surprising downsides mixed in with the good fortune. Okay, let's unpack this. When we're trying to get a handle on something as elusive as luck, where do we even begin?
Well, a great starting point is with the core philosophical ideas about luck. Across different thinkers, a fundamental definition keeps popping up. Luck is about events that happen outside of our individual control.
Lack of control.
Yeah. Lack of control is really the key. When we think about how the idea of a lucky human even came about, it likely started as people tried to make sense of a world that often felt unpredictable, like realizing that some things just happen, no matter what we do.
Right. It's about acknowledging those unexpected twists and turns life throws our way. But it's not all just shrugging our shoulders, is it? I remember something about the philosopher Seneca.
Exactly. Seneca offered a really important addition to this. He suggested that luck is where your preparation meets an opportunity.
Ah, okay. Preparation and opportunity.
Yes. This brings in a crucial element of our own actions, like being proactive. It suggests that people we see as lucky might not just be passive bystanders. They might be actively creating the conditions where opportunities are more likely to appear. And crucially, they're ready to jump on those opportunities when they do.
So it's not just being in the right spot at the right time, but also being ready to actually do something when you get there.
Precisely. And another vital part of the philosophical understanding is recognizing how important chance and timing are in shaping our lives.
Oh, yeah.
Understanding that many significant things are determined by factors beyond our direct influence can actually be quite freeing,
How so?
Well, it helps us not get too puffed up when we succeed, knowing that chance played a role.
Right. Keeps you humble.
And also not beat ourselves up too much when things go wrong, acknowledging those external factors.
That's a really helpful way to look at it. Yeah, it takes some of the pressure off, whether you're winning or losing.
Right.
But how do we tell the difference between someone who's really skilled and someone who just got lucky? It feels like we often mix those up.
You've hit on a really critical point there. Telling luck apart from skill is fundamental. Even incredibly talented people can face setbacks because they just didn't get the right opportunity, while someone less skilled might stumble into success just because of fortunate circumstances.
Happens all the time.
It does. But we often have this strong tendency to think success is all down to ability and failure is just a lack of it. We don't always appreciate how much these external chance factors are at play.
Yeah.
And this can lead to misunderstandings and, frankly, a real lack of empathy for others because we don't always see the role luck has played in their lives, good or bad.
So we're quick to celebrate the self-made success story without maybe thinking about any advantages or lucky breaks they might have had along the way.
Exactly. Now, to understand luck even better, Nicholas Risher came up with a useful way to categorize it. He identified 4 key types.
Okay.
First, superstition, which is probably what we think of first, right?
Oh, charms and rituals.
Then retrospective luck, where we look back and call something fortunate after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Third, seizing future opportunity, which ties right back to Seneca's idea of being prepared.
Got it.
And then, really relevant to our initial question, luck as a personal attribute.
Oh, interesting.
This last one suggests that maybe some people do have a certain mindset or way of looking at the world that makes them more likely to experience good outcomes.
That's really interesting. So maybe there is something to this idea of having a lucky personality or disposition.
There very well could be, and we'll definitely dig into that more when we talk about the psychology of luck.
Okay.
But before we move on from philosophy, we have to touch on a really thought-provoking and, ethically charged area. Moral luck.
Moral luck. Okay, that sounds like a philosophical puzzle.
It really is. Moral luck happens when our moral judgment of someone is influenced by things that are completely outside of their control.
But wait, that sounds wrong. Shouldn't we only judge people on what they control?
Exactly. This really challenges what's called the control principle, which is that basic idea that we should only be morally judged for things we have the power to control.
Okay, give me an example.
Right. A classic example is a drunk driver. Imagine two people who both make the terrible decision to drive drunk. One, purely by chance, hits a pedestrian,
Oh, no.
while the other makes it home without incident. We tend to have a much stronger negative moral reaction and often legal reaction to the first driver,
Of course.
even though their initial decision, the morally relevant action driving drunk, was exactly the same.
Wow, yeah.
This brings up some really deep ethical questions about what's fair and what really forms the basis of our moral evaluations.
Wow, that really makes you think about how much our judgment is tied to what happens, even when those outcomes are, well, random. So to wrap up this philosophical part, what are the main things we should take away here?
Yeah, absolutely. As our analysis shows, you've got philosophers like Seneca emphasizing our own agency, our preparedness,
Right.
and then the lack of control view highlighting those external forces. Both give us a more complete picture.
Okay.
Chance and timing are crucial, often forgotten when we just focus on skill. Research categories help us see the different angles of luck, including this intriguing idea of some people being inherently lucky.
Yeah, that personal attribute idea.
And moral luck forces us to grapple with how chance messes with our moral judgments of ourselves and others. This philosophical foundation is really key to understanding all the different sides of the lucky human.
Okay, that sets the stage really well. Let's switch gears now. We've looked at the philosophical roots, but what about the history of this idea? I mean, when did we even start using the word luck? Was it always around?
Well, interestingly, the word luck itself is a relatively new addition to the English language. It seems to show up around the 1480s.
The 1480s. That late?
Yeah, and it might even be connected to the language of gambling, which is quite a revelation, right? Because it suggests that while people have certainly thought about good and bad fortune throughout history, the specific term luck became common later. Maybe it reflects a growing awareness of chance events, especially in things like games.
That's surprising. I would have guessed it was a much older word tied to more basic ancient beliefs. So before we add this specific word, what did ancient civilizations believe about fortune?
Oh, they definitely thought about it. In ancient civilizations, beliefs about fortune and misfortune were deeply tied to their religious and mythological ideas, you know?
Makes sense.
In ancient China, for example, the concept of fu, or good fortune, was really important. People watched natural events like astronomical phenomena to try and predict lucky times. Similarly, in ancient Rome, Fortuna, the goddess of luck, was widely worshipped. Things like dice rolls weren't just games. They were often seen as messages from the gods.
Wow. Divination by dice roll.
Pretty much. Ancient Egyptians believed in lucky and unlucky days and used all sorts of amulets for protection and good fortune.
Right, amulets.
And in ancient Greece, superstitions and practices intended to ward off bad luck, apotropaic magic, it's called, were common ways to try and influence fate. These examples show that for a long, long time, humans attributed events to outside, often supernatural forces and tried to influence them.
So a world filled with signs and omens and people trying to keep the unseen powers happy, basically? How did these beliefs change over time? Did they fade out?
Not exactly fade out, but they evolved. Moving into medieval Europe, superstitions and stories around luck really took off. Think about all the classics. Black cats.
Bad luck.
Broken mirrors.
7 years bad luck.
The unlucky number 13, contrasted with charms like four-leaf clovers and horseshoes.
Like the good luck charms.
Luck even played a role in the romantic ideas of knights and chivalry. Knights sometimes credited their victories to a mix of skill, divine help, and, luck.
Huh. Even knights needed luck.
These medieval beliefs show a world where chance and the unknown had a lot of power, and superstitions offered a way, maybe, to feel like you had some control when facing all that uncertainty.
It sounds like people were just trying to find patterns and explanations in a world they didn't fully understand, finding some agency.
Exactly. Then came the Enlightenment era, with its big focus on reason and scientific explanations.
Okay, so did luck finally disappear then?
Well, while this period saw a shift towards a more logical understandings of the natural world, the idea of luck didn't just vanish.
Oh.
In fact, the development of probability theory gave us a mathematical way to understand chance events. And the popularity of games of chance, like lotteries, just highlighted our ongoing fascination with unpredictable outcomes.
Right. Probability theory meets gambling.
Exactly. Even as thinkers emphasized individual effort and hard work, the fact that we kept talking about luck shows it still mattered. It still held some sway.
So even in an age of reason, we couldn't completely shake the idea of luck. And where are we today in terms of understanding its history and role?
Today, the study of luck has become much more scientific. We've got research in psychology, behavioral economics, even neuroscience looking into it.
Okay.
Researchers now explore the mental shortcuts, the cognitive biases, the psychological reasons behind our beliefs about luck. We understand that it's not just something out there, but something deeply connected to how our minds work.
Like how we explain things to ourselves.
Precisely. For example, the self-serving bias, where we tend to attribute our successes to our own abilities, but blame failures on bad luck.
Oh yeah, I do that.
We all do it. It's a well-known phenomenon. So this historical journey shows us that our understanding of luck has moved from, say, supernatural explanations towards more psychological and statistical viewpoints, although, let's be honest, we're still just as fascinated by it.
From goddesses of fortune to cognitive biases, quite a journey indeed. Okay, now, let's look at how different cultures around the world see luck. Are there common themes, or is it all completely different depending on where you are?
Well, what's really striking is the huge variety of cultural symbols and traditions linked to luck. Yet underneath it all, there seems to be this common human desire to connect with and maybe even influence the forces of fortune.
Okay, like what? Give us some examples.
Okay, so Ireland has shamrocks and, even better, four-leaf clovers, right? Representing faith, hope, love, and luck.
The classic.
Then you have Japan's Manikineko, that waving cat, thought to bring prosperity and good fortune.
I've seen those.
Across the Mediterranean and Middle East, and also parts of Asia, Africa, Latin America, the evil eye amulet, the Nazar, is used as protection against negative energy or bad luck sent your way.
Protection, okay.
In India, the elephant, often representing the god Ganesha, symbolizes wisdom, strength, and good luck. The horseshoe in Europe and North America is a classic symbol used to ward off bad spirits.
Gotta hang it the right way up, right?
That's the belief. And in China, the number 8 is considered extremely lucky because of how it sounds.
8, okay.
You also see things like dream catchers in Native American traditions to filter out bad dreams, rabbit's feet in North America and England for money or love, acorns in Norse and European cultures for luck and growth. Even certain birds, like cardinals or magpies, are seen as good luck omens in different places.
Wow, that's a huge range.
It is. And what's striking about this global tour of lucky symbols is this universal human desire to find tangible representations of hope and maybe control in an uncertain world. While the specific symbols vary wildly, the underlying need to connect with something bigger than ourselves and to feel a sense of agency seems to be constant across cultures.
It's like every culture has its own little toolkit of good luck charms, its own visual language for hope.
Exactly. And beyond these physical symbols, we have these deeply ingrained superstitions that act as practical ways of expressing these beliefs day to day.
Like actions, not just objects.
Yeah. Think about knocking on wood to prevent tempting fate.
Do all the time.
Or throwing salt over your shoulder after spilling it, avoiding walking under a ladder.
Yep.
The idea that a broken mirror brings 7 years of bad luck, or the anxiety around Friday the 13th, these are common in many Western cultures. Even a black cat crossing your path is seen negatively in many traditions, though not all.
Right. Black cats get a bad rap.
What's interesting is that the specifics can change. Like, Italians might touch steel, not wood, for luck. In China, the number 4 is considered very unlucky because it sounds similar to the word for death.
Oh, wow. So the opposite of 8.
Exactly. These small differences highlight the culturally specific ways societies try to understand and manage the unpredictable nature of luck.
So it's not just about having a lucky object, but also following these unwritten rules of behavior to, like, manage your luck.
Precisely. And the way different cultures see lucky and unlucky numbers or days also shows significant variation. We've mentioned 13 versus 4, and the Chinese reverence for the number 8 as a symbol of fortune is another really strong example. These associations show that what we consider lucky or unlucky is often a result of specific cultural histories, language quirks, things like that.
And these beliefs probably translate into actual practices, rituals, right? Not just avoidance.
Absolutely. Rituals and traditions in many cultures are specifically designed to actively attract good luck. The Lunar New Year celebrations in many Asian cultures are a great example.
Like the red envelopes.
Exactly, the color red, giving money in red envelopes, eating fish for abundance. These are all customs meant to bring luck and wealth in the new year. These rituals, often full of historical and symbolic meaning, reflect this deep-seated human desire to have some influence over fortune and create a sense of control when facing uncertainty.
It's amazing how deeply these beliefs are woven into the fabric of our lives, shaping everything from our little superstitions to our biggest celebrations.
Okay.
Now, let's look inward. Let's explore the psychology of luck. How does what we believe about luck actually affect us mentally?
Here's where it gets really interesting, psychologically speaking. Psychology shows us that believing in luck can be a really powerful, self-fulfilling prophecy.
How does that work?
Well, people who think they're lucky tend to be more optimistic. They're often more likely to spot and act on opportunities when they arise.
They're looking for them.
Perhaps, and they bounce back more easily when things go wrong. They show more resilience.
Okay.
On the other hand, those who think they're unlucky might have a more negative outlook. They might miss potential opportunities because they're not expecting them, and they might give up more quickly after setbacks. Our mental attitude, our mindset, can really shape how we experience and perceive luck.
So thinking you're lucky might actually make you more likely to get lucky. Not because of some magical force, but because of how you approach life, how open you are.
Precisely. And the kind of luck we believe in also seems to matter.
What do you mean?
People who see luck as a stable, lasting part of their personality, like, I'm just a lucky person, tend to be more motivated and feel more in control of their lives.
Interesting.
This belief in consistent personal luckiness seems to foster a sense of agency and optimism, encouraging them to pursue their goals with more confidence. In contrast, seeing luck as just fleeting and unpredictable might weaken motivation, making people feel like their efforts don't matter as much. Why bother? It's all random anyway.
That makes total sense. If you think good things will generally keep happening to you, you're probably more likely to keep trying. What about the connection between believing in luck and how we see our own abilities, our self-confidence?
Yeah, there's a strong link there between believing in luck and what psychologists call self-efficacy. That's our belief in our ability to succeed in specific situations. Thinking you're lucky can actually boost your confidence in your ability to influence future outcomes, even in areas that seem unrelated to luck itself. Conversely, a strong belief in being unlucky is often linked to lower self-efficacy. It can even affect cognitive functions like problem-solving ability. So, how lucky we think we are can have a real impact on our sense of competence and how we tackle challenges.
And it sounds like it could be a positive cycle. Believe you're lucky, you feel more confident, you try harder or notice more things, you're more likely to succeed, which then reinforces the belief that you're lucky.
Exactly. It can definitely work that way. And let's not forget the psychological role of those superstitions we talked about earlier.
Right, knocking on wood.
They can actually help us manage uncertainty and anxiety. When we feel like we don't have control over a situation, engaging in superstitious behaviors can give us a sense of agency, a feeling of doing something, and that can be comforting.
Psychological placebo, maybe?
In a way. And interestingly, some research even suggests that these good luck rituals might actually improve performance in certain tasks, possibly by reducing anxiety and increasing self-confidence.
So knocking on wood isn't just a funny habit. It might actually make us feel a bit more in control and maybe even perform a bit better.
It potentially can. Now, the relationship between believing in luck and taking risks is a bit more complex.
How so?
Cultural factors play a role here. People from cultures that tend to emphasize external locus of control, believing that outcomes are largely due to luck or fate, might be more willing to take risks when they feel lucky.
Okay.
Also, that belief in stable personal good luck we talked about, that can make people more willing to engage in risky ventures because they feel like they have a sort of buffer against negative outcomes.
It's like they have a psychological safety net, believing luck is on their side.
Precisely. And finally, just generally, believing in luck is connected to our overall well-being. People who believe in good luck tend to be more optimistic and report fewer irrational beliefs. This positive outlook can actually lessen the link sometimes found between having irrational beliefs and feelings of anxiety and depression.
Wow.
So even if it's not based on, concrete external evidence, cultivating a belief in good luck can have real psychological benefits.
It's amazing how much our perception of something as intangible as luck can have such concrete effects on our mental state, our confidence, our actions. Okay, now, let's zoom out again. We've looked inside the mind. Let's look at how this belief in luck shapes the wider structure of our society. How does it affect how we treat each other?
Yeah, beliefs about luck are deeply embedded in our society, and they really influence how we feel about and judge other people. Research shows that even from a young age, we tend to like people we perceive as lucky.
Really? Just because they're lucky?
Yeah, we often view them as inherently nicer, maybe more competent, more likely to do good things.
Huh. The halo effect of luck?
Kind of. And on the flip side, we can sometimes have negative feelings towards those associated with unlucky events, even if it's not their fault at all. This can unfortunately contribute to prejudice against certain groups who are perceived as unlucky. So our perception of luck can subtly influence social dynamics and even create or reinforce hierarchies.
That's a sobering thought, that we might unconsciously judge people, or even entire groups, based on whether we see them as lucky or unlucky.
It is. And this extends to our views on economic inequality. Interestingly, people who are more economically successful are often, perhaps surprisingly, more likely to attribute their success, at least in part, to luck and connections, rather than just their own hard work and talent.
They acknowledge the luck factor more.
Sometimes, yes. Furthermore, the belief that luck plays a significant role in determining economic outcomes is generally linked to less acceptance of economic inequality and more support for things like wealth redistribution and stronger social safety nets.
Ah, okay.
So, how we understand luck directly impacts our views on social justice and economic fairness.
So if you think luck is a big factor in where people end up financially, you might be more understanding of those who haven't done as well, and more supportive of trying to create a more level playing field through policy.
Exactly. However, the stories our culture often tells about success tend to emphasize meritocracy. The idea that success comes purely from talent and hard work.
The pull yourself up by your bootstraps narrative.
Right. And that narrative can potentially downplay the significant role of luck, privilege, and just fortunate circumstances. While hard work and talent are definitely important, this overemphasis can lead us to underestimate the impact of chance and external factors, which in turn can make us less understanding, less empathetic towards other people's struggles.
It's like we create these narratives of purely self-made success that conveniently ignore the luck factor, which can then make it harder to feel empathy for others who face different circumstances.
Precisely put. And beliefs about luck also intersect quite clearly with our political leanings.
How so?
For example, studies often find that people with more conservative political views tend to see luck as less influential in achieving success compared to those with more liberal views, who might place more emphasis on structural factors and chance.
Okay.
The argument that luck plays a significant role is often used, particularly on the left, to support redistributive social policies. The idea being that those who have benefited disproportionately from good luck, perhaps, have a responsibility to help those who have faced bad luck. These different perspectives on luck contribute to ongoing debates about the role of government in addressing inequalities.
So even our political debates about fairness and policy can be influenced by these underlying assumptions about how much luck matters in people's lives.
Absolutely. And finally, how society as a whole thinks about luck has real, tangible consequences for the social policies we create and put in place.
Like what?
Well, in cultures where there's a very strong belief in stable individual luck and personal responsibility, there might be less perceived need for extensive social safety nets. The thinking might be, well, it's up to the individual.
Right. In contrast, if a society generally believes that luck, both good and bad, is a major factor in life outcomes, they might be more inclined to regulate things like gambling more strictly, or provide more robust support for people facing hardship due to factors beyond their control, like illness or economic downturns.
Yeah.
Our collective understanding of luck really does shape the social and political landscape we live in.
It's incredible to see how this seemingly abstract idea of luck has such real-world effects on how we interact, how we judge each other, and how our societies are organized. Okay, now let's delve into a particularly complex area we touched on earlier, the ethical dimensions of moral luck. You said this challenges our ideas of justice.
It really does. The paradox of moral luck truly challenges our deeply held beliefs about justice and fairness. It forces us to confront the, frankly, unsettling reality that our moral judgments, which we strive to base on intention and control, are often swayed by the randomness of outcomes.
Yeah, that drunk driver example really stuck with me. It's a powerful one. It raises fundamental questions about the very foundation of our ethical frameworks and how we assign blame and praise. Should luck, something completely outside of our control, influence how we morally evaluate people and their actions. It goes against that basic intuition, the control principle, that we should only be judged for what we can actually control.
Right.
And philosophers have identified different ways luck can creep into our moral lives. There's resultant luck, which is luck in the consequences or results of our actions, like the drunk driver case.
Okay.
Then there's circumstantial luck, the luck involved in the situations we happen to find ourselves in, the moral tests we face or don't face.
Like being in the wrong place at the wrong time or the right place.
Exactly. Then there's constitutive luck. This is luck in the kind of person we are, our inherent traits, temperament, inclinations, which are shaped by genetics and upbringing, things largely beyond our control.
Wow, that's a deep one.
It is. And finally, causal luck, which relates to how our actions are determined by prior events in the causal chain, stretching back indefinitely. If determinism is true, then maybe all our actions are ultimately a matter of luck.
Okay, that's heading into free will territory.
It definitely borders on it. But just recognizing these different types, resultant, circumstantial, constitutive, causal, makes us question the idea of a completely fair and controllable moral world.
Those are quite distinct ways luck can shape our moral landscape. Let's go back to that drunk driver example with resultant luck. How does moral luck play out there in terms of blame and maybe regret?
Right, that scenario is a perfect example of resultant luck. Both drivers made the same morally questionable choice. However, one, just by chance, causes immense harm, while the other doesn't. Our moral reaction, our blame, and often the legal consequences are much harsher for the first driver.
Understandably, but maybe unfairly.
That's the tension. We're judging based on what actually happened, the outcome, which was heavily influenced by chance, rather than just the intention or the initial act. Moral luck suggests that our moral feelings, like blame, guilt, regret, even praise, are often swayed by factors that are ultimately arbitrary and outside the person's control.
It feels deeply unfair that someone could face harsher moral judgment, more guilt, more shame, simply because of a random event they couldn't control, even if their initial action was wrong.
That's exactly the ethical dilemma at the heart of moral luck, and its implications go way beyond individual feelings to our legal and justice systems.
How so?
Think about how we usually punish attempted crimes less severely than completed crimes. Attempted murder versus actual murder, for example.
Right, the penalties are different.
Even when the intention might have been identical, and the only difference in outcome was due to chance, maybe the gun jammed or the victim moved unexpectedly. This can be seen as another instance of resultant moral luck influencing our legal frameworks.
Huh. I never thought of it that way.
Some legal thinkers even argue that we should consider a person's life circumstances more when we assign blame and punishment, acknowledging the role of circumstantial and constitutive moral luck, the bad hand they might have been dealt in life. The idea of justice luck further emphasizes how chance can affect everything from getting caught to the outcome of a trial.
So, our entire justice system might be, in some fundamental way, built on a foundation that includes this element of uncontrollable chance, this moral luck.
It's a really controversial idea, of course, but it raises incredibly important questions about fairness and what justice truly means.
Yeah.
And these ethical considerations around luck don't just stop with individual and legal judgments. They also extend to how we think about distributing resources and opportunities in society.
Like economic fairness again.
Exactly. There's a theory called luck egalitarianism, for example. It argues that inequalities that arise from brute luck, things we absolutely can't control, like being born with a disability or into poverty, are inherently unfair, and society has a duty to correct them. But, it argues, inequalities that come from option luck, the results of voluntary choices and risks we knowingly take, are acceptable.
But how on earth do you separate brute luck from option luck in real life? That sounds incredibly difficult.
That's one of the biggest challenges and criticisms. It can be incredibly difficult, maybe impossible, to clearly draw that line.
Right.
Critics also worry about how harsh such a system could be, like denying aid to someone who made a risky choice that turned out badly, and how intrusive it would be to try and figure out the origins of everyone's circumstances.
Yeah, that sounds problematic.
So other ethical ideas, like relational egalitarianism, offer different approaches. They focus more on achieving justice and equality by ensuring people relate to each other as equals, regardless of their luck, rather than trying to precisely compensate for imbalances of brute luck.
This is a really challenging area, ethically. It forces us to rethink the very basis of our moral and legal systems and how we think about what's fair in society, especially when luck plays such a big role. Okay, let's make a big jump now. Let's look at how something completely different, artificial intelligence, can help us understand luck. How does AI even approach something that seems so inherently random and unpredictable?
Well, what's fascinating here is that while luck often implies randomness, AI's core strength actually comes from its deep roots in probability and statistics.
Ah, okay. Math, not magic.
Exactly. AI algorithms learn by analyzing huge amounts of data, looking for statistical patterns, correlations, and connections. So this allows them to analyze luck not by predicting individual lucky events in a definite fortune-telling way, but by understanding the probabilities involved and how outcomes tend to be distributed over time or across populations.
So AI can look at a massive amount of seemingly random events like, say, lottery results or stock market fluctuations and find underlying statistical trends or probabilities that we might miss.
Precisely. Machine learning, which is a key part of AI, is being used more and more to try and predict outcomes in areas we typically associate with luck, things like sports betting, financial markets, even lottery games to some extent. AI algorithms can analyze vast amounts of historical data and various influencing factors to estimate how likely different outcomes are.
But it can't guarantee a win, right?
Oh, absolutely not. It's really important to remember the limitations here. While AI can spot trends and probabilities much better than humans can, predicting a truly random event, like the exact winning lottery numbers drawn from a machine, is still fundamentally impossible. It's about improving the odds based on patterns, not eliminating randomness.
Right. It can't see the future,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to pure chance like a coin flip or a dice roll. But is randomness always something AI tries to predict and control? Or does it use randomness itself?
That's a great question. Not at all. Interestingly, randomness is also a really useful tool within many AI algorithms.
How does that work?
Well, introducing randomness can help AI systems avoid getting stuck in certain patterns or biases present in the data they learn from. This can lead to more well-rounded, robust, and reliable models. Techniques like using pseudo-random number generators allow AI to introduce a controlled amount of randomness, which is often essential for exploring complex problems effectively and avoiding getting stuck on suboptimal solutions.
So randomness isn't just something AI analyzes from the outside, it's also something AI uses strategically on the inside. That's a cool paradox.
Yeah.
Are there specific AI models that try to simulate or understand luck itself?
Yes, there are. Researchers have developed computational models of luck. A well-known one is often called the talent versus luck model.
Okay, what does that do?
These models typically simulate groups of individuals who are assigned different levels of talent, and then they experience random, lucky, or unlucky events over a simulated career or lifespan.
And what do they find?
Well, these simulations often lead to some pretty surprising findings. They frequently show that luck can play a surprisingly large, even dominant role in determining success, sometimes outweighing talent significantly, especially at the very top levels of achievement.
Wow. So a computer simulation can actually demonstrate that luck might be an even bigger factor than talent in achieving huge success. That's truly mind-blowing. It kind of confirms what we suspected earlier, right?
It really does lend computational weight to that idea. By changing parameters in the model, like how often lucky events happen or how talent is distributed, these models help us understand the complex and sometimes counterintuitive interaction between talent and luck in shaping outcomes.
That's incredible. So a computer simulation can show us just how much luck influences who comes out on top, sometimes even more than skill. That really is mind-blowing. And how else can AI's ability to analyze massive data sets help us with understanding luck?
AI-powered data analysis offers another powerful way to understand patterns in what might initially seem like purely lucky sequences of events. By using advanced statistical methods and machine learning algorithms on relevant data, say, from sports, finance, or scientific discoveries, we can potentially uncover hidden patterns, correlations, or trends that we might not see otherwise.
Like finding structure in the randomness.
Kind of. For example, the idea of luck clustering, or hot streaks, has been observed in areas like sports data. This suggests that periods of good or bad luck might sometimes happen in streaks, rather than being completely random and isolated events. AI can help us identify and analyze these kinds of temporal patterns, though explaining why they happen is another challenge.
So what looks like a lucky streak might actually have some underlying, perhaps explainable structure that AI can help reveal. That's a fascinating shift in perspective. Okay, so AI can help us understand luck better. But moving beyond just understanding, can AI actually help us in ways that might, let's say, improve our luck in some practical sense? Can AI engineer luck?
Well, engineer luck might be stretching it a bit, as AI can't magically create good fortune out of thin air.
Right, no magic wand.
But it definitely has the potential to influence things related to what we think of as luck, going beyond just analyzing it. One really important area is reducing the negative effects of bad luck.
Oh.
AI-powered tools are being used more and more for sophisticated risk assessment and management in fields like finance, cybersecurity, insurance, and healthcare. By analyzing data to predict potential negative events, market crashes, cyber attacks, disease outbreaks, and helping us plan strategies to mitigate their impact, AI can essentially lessen the harm caused by unexpected bad luck.
Okay, damage control for bad luck.
Exactly. And interestingly, AI, especially when combined with statistical methods like Bayesian reasoning, which is good at updating beliefs with new evidence, even shows some promise in trying to predict or at least anticipate rare but very impactful black swan events, even when we don't have much past data to go on.
So AI can act like a really smart early warning system, helping us maybe avoid some of the biggest downsides of bad luck, or at least be better prepared.
Exactly. AI also offers potential ways to help us manage the anxiety and stress that can come from the unpredictable nature of luck itself.
The psychological side again.
Yeah. AI-powered chatbots and virtual assistants are being explored as accessible tools for providing mental health support. They could offer coping strategies for dealing with uncertainty, negative thinking patterns, or feelings of being chronically unlucky.
Huh.
Furthermore, machine learning could potentially help personalize treatment approaches for anxiety disorders, perhaps addressing the emotional burden that comes from feeling constantly unfortunate or powerless against fate.
That's a really interesting application, using AI to help with the psychological toll of feeling unlucky, not just the external events.
Right. And AI can also play a crucial role in helping us humans just understand risk and probability better in the first place. Yes. AI-driven educational tools could personalize learning experiences in mathematics, including these fundamental concepts of probability and statistics, which are often counterintuitive for us. This better understanding could empower people to have a more rational view of chance events and maybe rely less on superstitions or feeling like fate is actively working against them.
Makes sense.
Plus, AI can significantly improve the accuracy and efficiency with which we assess risks in various fields, like project management or public health, giving us data-driven insights into the likelihood of different events and the potential magnitude of their impact.
So it's about making us more informed, more statistically literate, and therefore maybe more rational when facing uncertainty.
Precisely. And that leads to the final point here. AI has the potential to help us make more rational decisions in uncertain situations.
By telling us what to do.
Not necessarily telling us, but helping us weigh the options. Rational AI systems are designed, in theory, to make choices that maximize the expected good outcomes based on the available information and probabilities, even when things are unclear or ambiguous. By analyzing huge amounts of data, identifying potential options, calculating expected values, and objectively weighing the evidence, AI can serve as a decision support tool. It can help us make more informed and logical decisions, potentially reducing the influence of our emotional biases, wishful thinking, or subjective feelings about luck.
It sounds like AI can't make us inherently luckier in terms of the random events that happen, but it can definitely help us navigate uncertainty more effectively, mitigate the negative impacts of bad luck, and make smarter choices when faced with chance. Okay, so looking ahead, putting this all together, what does this AI-enhanced perspective tell us about the future of the lucky human? Where does this leave us?
Yeah, putting all these diverse perspectives together, the philosophical depth, the historical evolution, the cultural variety, the psychological mechanisms, the societal impacts, the ethical knots, and now this powerful AI analytical lens, it gives us a much richer, much deeper understanding of what it means to be a lucky human.
It's clearly not simple.
Not at all. It's so much more complex than just having good fortune fall in your lap. It's this intricate interplay of external circumstances, random events, but also our own actions, our beliefs, our preparedness, societal structures, biases, ethical judgments.
No.
And as AI becomes more and more integrated into our lives, the ethical questions around it potentially influencing, or even, as you said, engineering aspects related to luck become really, really important.
Right. If AI can predict risks better or optimize choices, who gets access to that? Does it create new divides?
Exactly. While AI offers these promising tools for reducing negative outcomes, managing anxiety, helping us make more rational decisions, we absolutely need to think carefully about the impact on things like personal autonomy, responsibility, and the very nature of chance in human life. It's a delicate balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do we leverage AI's power without eroding our own sense of agency or inadvertently creating new forms of inequality based on who benefits from this AI-assisted navigation of luck?
Exactly. The potential benefits of an AI-enhanced view seem pretty significant.
Yeah.
Maybe less anxiety about uncertainty, more informed decisions, a more nuanced understanding of risk. But we also need to be really aware of the potential downsides, like becoming overly reliant on technology, maybe losing our own skills for dealing with ambiguity, or, as you said, creating new fairness issues.
Absolutely. Ultimately, AI is likely to play an increasingly significant role in shaping how we understand and experience luck. By giving us these incredibly powerful tools for analysis, prediction, simulation, and education, it can help us move towards a more statistical, more probabilistic, more data-driven view of chance events.
Less magic, more math.
Perhaps. The relationship between us humans, the age-old concept of luck, and these new intelligent machines is still very much developing. And we'll need a really thoughtful, ethically grounded approach to make sure we use AI's abilities in ways that genuinely improve our collective well-being and help us become more resilient individually and societally when facing the inherent uncertainties of life.
This has been a truly deep dive into a concept we often just toss around casually.
It really has. To quickly recap for everyone listening, we've seen that luck is far, far more complex than just simple good or bad fortune. It's shaped by centuries of philosophical thought, evolving historical beliefs, incredibly diverse cultural expressions, our own intricate psychological makeup, the very structures of our societies, some really tricky ethical issues.
Yeah.
And now, the powerful analytical capabilities of artificial intelligence are adding a whole new layer to it.
And crucially, AI offers us this powerful new lens, a new set of tools for understanding and maybe even interacting with the idea of luck. It's not about creating lucky charms in code, as we said, but about understanding the underlying probabilities, mitigating risks, managing our reactions, and helping us make more rational decisions in a world that will always contain uncertainty.
So here's a final thought for you, our listener, to mull over. Considering how AI is starting to reveal some of the hidden structures of chance, maybe showing us just how much randomness influences outcomes, how might our understanding of personal responsibility, merit, and what's fair in society need to change or evolve? What does it even mean to be lucky in an age of intelligent machines that can analyze and perhaps even influence the odds?
That's a big question.
It is. We encourage you to keep exploring these fascinating questions on your own. The deep dive into luck, especially with AI in the picture, is definitely far from over.
This is DigitView.